If someone had told me 15 years ago that I would live up to today, I would say that was impossible. And all the doctors expected me to die. The life expectancy was only 3 years. I had teenage children, and I just couldn't believe that something so dreadful would happen to me, that I would have to leave everything, my family that was just arising, my kids that were going to school, my job which I loved greatly, my friends with whom I have been so good for so many years, and that didn't sound fair. And so I decided to do my best to battle the terrible, deadly disease with everything that I could find that could help me. I started being a researcher for help, a researcher for gaining health back again. And I succeeded. And I want to show you how. I was 44 years old, and I had two lovely children. My daughter was 14 years old. My son was 17 years old when I was diagnosed with a very rare type of leukemia. It was a TLGL diagnosis, which means that granular lymphocytic leukemia of the T cells was going on. I didn't really feel anything except an extreme tiredness. I wasn't as strong as I used to be. I used to wake up very tired, and that was sort of awkward. And the doctors couldn't diagnose anything for a full 6 months. We were doing all sorts of tests, and nothing had given any results. The doctors couldn't find anything, and they were telling me all the time that I was completely healthy, that the results were excellent, and that they couldn't find anything wrong with me. And yet, I knew I wasn't well. I simply knew that I was sort of drowning. I was losing my life. I knew it. I didn't know how to explain that to them. And finally, there was one doctor who knew me well and who knew that I wasn't fantasizing about it, who knew that it was real, that I had some real trouble. And he said, okay, let's make a few more tests, which are really rare, but maybe they will show something. And so we did. And it was the first time after 6 months that something was definitely was seen as wrong in my blood. And again, they couldn't diagnose anything. And it took several more months to affirm that diagnosis, which was deadly. I just couldn't take the blow. In one instant, in absolutely 1 second, my whole life crushed down. And I was speechless, as if something like that happened to someone else, not to me. Everything seems to be like a film, which I was an actor in, and I was not there voluntarily. I wanted to go out of that film. And I decided to do everything that I could, everything that the doctors told me to do, everything that I could find from people who succeeded in battling successfully all these dreadful diseases today. But the problem was that there was not enough information, and that was the essential things. The doctors were experts only in one field of mainly chemical medicine, technological medicine, but that was not enough because we are not technical beings, we are beings of nature. And therefore, they didn't know anything about natural remedies, they didn't know anything about energy healing, they didn't know anything about all sorts of other methods which are well known to people all around the world. yet they are not known to the doctors of Western medicine whom we are directed to. And what they could help me, and they did for a temporary time, was that they gave me the chemical medicine, but that was not enough. So after about 3 years of following the doctor's directions, of all the advice they gave me, after taking so much chemicals, uh, chemical medicine, drugs of various kinds, my liver couldn't take it anymore. My liver was too exhausted, and I couldn't take anything inside that was of chemical source. I was let to go home. I was set off. I was written off to die. And that was 3 years after my sickness had been diagnosed. So it was in the spring 2006 that I came home without any hope of surviving. I was just counting my days to the end of my life. And it was a dreadful time. So here I am, well, alive, 15 years later after that terrible diagnosis, when I was left to go home without any reasonable treatment from the doctors of Western medicine. I couldn't accept that. I just had to find a way out. And I was devoted to research everything that was existing, everything that was anywhere in the world meant to cure people, meant to be a remedy. I researched all sorts of medicine, from the Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, Japanese, European traditional medicine, natural remedies, herbs, good nutrition, and especially energy healing. One of the most beautiful things that happened to me was in 2008, when I became an energy therapist myself. And I just couldn't believe how excellent, how helping energy healing was. And every time when I was sort of at the end of the tunnel, when I had no hope of surviving to the next day, energy healing was the one that helped every single time. And that was absolutely amazing. And I knew that that was the right way to prosper, the right way to heal myself, and so I did. And I did it successfully. And the good news is that if I did it, you can too.